Good evening, everybody. Good evening. It's been a while, but GP2 is finally back. Welcome, everybody, to the stream. I am your commentator for today, your lead commentator as usual. It is me, four-time race winner in GP4 OC, Robert Ionescu. And alongside me today is a 41-time race winner and also a two-time OC champion, Joseph Willows. Hello there, Joe.
Hello there, everyone. Yes, it's nice for GP2 to be back, and
Yep.
well, it's looking like to be a very interesting season after an original driver lineup which went down the toilet. But we'll
Yep,
we
indeed.
move.
Well, either way, we've arrived here at a brand new venue. We've arrived here at the Jerez de Frontera in Spain. We're here in Jerez in the southern Spain and in the southern part of Spain in Andalusia. The full name of the circuit is Circuito de Jerez Ángel Nieto. So just so you know, it is named after the famous 12 plus 1 time motorcycling world champion Ángel Nieto, who passed away, I think, either last year or 2 years ago. The track is named after him in his honor, and GP2 is here with the chicane. I will add. I thought we were gonna race without the chicane, but we are testing here with the chicane, so that's that. Yeah, it's good to see you guys. What do you think of this track, Joe?
Uh, yeah, it's a good test track, isn't it? I mean, it's usually good for motorcycle racing, not so much for car racing. Although it is known for one particular incident that happened back in 1997, of course, Jacques Villeneuve and Michael Schumacher down at the Dry Sachs curve. So, yeah,
Yep, that incident was pretty damn interesting. Though the stewards didn't exactly agree with that, and they disqualified Schumacher from the championship entirely for it.
Indeed. I think it should be an interesting testing session. Obviously, last season we were at Mugello. This season, of course, we're in Ref, so it should be interesting to see how the GP2 cars cope around here.
Yep, indeed, and it'll be very nice to see what happens. We got a good number of corners. The one I've got on Wikipedia, it says 13 corners, but that doesn't include the chicane. So I think we got 15 corners on this track, and I can't wait for the session to start. But before we start, we need to address the elephant in the room. Obviously, you saw the video where we announced the driver lineup. There have been a few changes. Would you like to go through them, Joe?
Yes, indeed. Now, for reasons we won't go into, because I'm pretty sure everybody knows by now, there were a few changes due to some fake drivers that were discovered. So, we might as well go through the driver lineup whilst we're waiting here, then, shall we? Just to go through the changes.
Yeah, sure thing.
So we'll start off with MP Motorsport. They retain Ruslan Proksiuk for another season, the AlphaTauri test driver, and he is joined by Mohamed Usman Hamid. It was originally meant to be Marek Kukelovic, but after finding out that he was a fake, it will instead be Mohamed Usman Hamid, who will be Ruslan's teammate at MP Motorsport. Another team which had a change was ART Grand Prix. The team was originally meant to have Matteo Cuadras and Luca Farina, but Matteo Cuadras was also discovered to be a fake, so instead it will be Henry Watzel, who will remain with the team for another season alongside Luca Farina. Then we've got BWT HWA Race Lab. The lineup includes Nicola Zorbach and Alex Broster, the team formerly known as Arden, of course, but they are now a German team and they have a German driver as well, looking to do well with the German team. Moving over to Carlin. Now, this one had a change. It was originally meant to be Jake Galloway and Hento Sinanome as the drivers, but because Jake Galloway got a late call up to the top class due to one driver in the top class also being a fake, it will instead be Hoang Min Nguyen who will be in the Carlin. Hoang Min Nguyen making a return after a season away in DTM.
Yep, I think he'll be very happy to be back to GP2 this season.
Yeah, indeed.
I think he's got some unfinished business, so I'll say that.
Yeah, I will mention with Hamid as well, he comes up from Formula E. I just want to point that one out. Prema Racing, they have Bent Valdinger, who remains with the team for another season, but he has a new teammate in the form of Santino Andreoli. Campos Racing, they have Lorenzo Tomaselli, but after admitting that he doesn't actually have a cousin, as it was originally meant to be Alessandro Tomaselli, it will instead be Gabriel Quintino, who's been given a lifeline after finishing last in last season's GP2 Championship, and will be driving for Campos alongside Lorenzo.
Indeed, the former Charouz driver lost his drive due to not having a good enough season. But thankfully, things have gone his way, and he still remains in GP2 this season. I think he'll be very hopeful to get some redemption after a terrible last season.
Indeed. Moving over to Unit Virtuosi Racing. Rahul Patel remains with the team for another season, this time under the Indian nationality rather than the British nationality. And he's got a new teammate in the form of pretty much a man who has got a lot of hype around him, that being 2019 BTCC champion Jesus Perinen. So it will be interesting to see how Jesus does in a GP2 car after obliterating the BTCC field last season.
Yep, indeed. The one thing's for sure. This time around, he won't get to bring a one-car team the championship.
Yep, indeed. Trident, a new lineup for them, but it consists of two experienced drivers, Joel Watterson and Aaron Curtis. Joel Watterson moving over after Rapax pulled out at the end of the season, and Aaron Curtis moving over, of course, from Prema Racing. Moving over to Charouz, no longer backed by Sauber. They are now Charouz Racing System again, and their team consists of Jose Frederic Suto, who moves up from Formula E, and Kyle Burns, another man who was thrown a lifeline because that seat was originally meant to be Johan Peterson, but again, another fake driver. So Kyle Burns, who also had a tricky season last season, has been thrown a lifeline as well, thanks to Charouz.
Indeed. The one sad thing about it, about Johan Peterson being fake, is it means I lost to a fake teammate in DTM last season, but we move on.
Yeah, indeed. Now we go to the remaining two teams. Dams, Dennis Graff moves over to the team after a brilliant end to the season with it was a Trident, wasn't he? Yes, a good end to the season for him, and he's got a new teammate in the form of Wojciech Kulizek, who moves over from BTCC. And then we'll go to High Tech Grand Prix. Max Skillen moves over there after spending a season with Uni Virtuosi, so it's the second season in a row that he's with a debutant team, and he's joined by another man who moves up from BTCC, that being Adam Chobart. So should be an interesting season, I think, Rob.
Absolutely. Obviously, you can remember, Joe, in the video we did, Team News, I said Jake Galloway could be a contender for the championship, but now, well, he received a call-up, so he won't be in the championship no more. It's still going to be very interesting, nonetheless, to see who's going to take it. Kalovic isn't in it anymore either, so I think it'll be interesting. But before we get going, who are your contenders for the championship? Or not contenders, I'd say, but your predictions.
I think it's really too early to say, to be honest. You probably look at Ruslan Protsiuk and even guys like even Dennis Graff to possibly have a chance, given the end of the season Dennis had, of course. But you never know, of course. Anything can happen in GP2, and it usually does. But I think we can get underway, because I think Flo's been waiting long enough, to be honest.
Yeah, our apologies for that, but it's a special intro. We had to take a little bit longer. But here at Jerez de la Frontera, it's going to be bone dry. So no threat of rain whatsoever here in the south of Spain. A particularly arid region, henceforth the lack of rain.
Yep, indeed. But we are going to get underway because we are on the loading screen. We'll go through the calendar in a little bit whilst the session gets underway, of course, because there is some interesting stuff coming up with the calendar that some people didn't read the instructions about, if I'm being totally honest. But
well, the most important and shocking thing about the calendar, I'd say, is that the first race we don't even know where it's going to be held because it's a voted track and the results are not in yet. So yeah, Bahrain is off the calendar. I believe Turkey is not eligible to be, Istanbul is not eligible to be voted. So anything other than those two and the track in the real life calendar, those could be the host to the opener. But who is it going to be? We don't know yet.
I kind of figured that, Flo. But yes, to let you know, I'll go through the calendar then whilst we're on the track because we're in the garage. It's a very interesting version of a ref, I must say, that we've gone with here. I think that looks like the 2005 version, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, here's some of the new liveries that we've got
the one
for you guys.
you used over in the IFMC, but that's a nice livery there for Hamid in GP Motorsport.
Indeed. I will point out as well, guys, this is the first season, right, that I've not had any say on the liveries. It's all been done this season by Evan, as you can quite clearly see.
Yep, and did everything.
Evan did all the liveries this season. I didn't do any of them at all.
Well, I'm only looking at just the one for now, but I gotta say, nice job.
That is the MP Motorsport of Mohammed Usman Hamid, obviously getting a late call-up as well. We'll have a look at some of the other liveries whilst we're out there as well. Behind him, I believe, is that the new High-Tech?
It's a High-Tech. It's gotta be.
It's a silver car, and it is. It's Max Skillen, and you have to say, very nice-looking car.
Yep, indeed. He's got those dashes of red as well.
I should explain as well, because apart from one odd sponsor that you can see on the rear wing, Max doesn't have any sponsors, so he's not got anything on his car. I believe his teammate, though, Adam Chobot, does have sponsors, though, so you might see a little bit more presentation on there. Here is Henry Watson, the new liveried ART. Obviously, another one who got a lifeline, of course. RBS being his sponsors, so...
You're going to see a lot of variety on these cars, because drivers are actually allowed to pick their own sponsors in GP2 this season. Here we are on board with Santino Andgoli, the Frenchman making his debut for Prema. A different color scheme from last season, of course. And I think he's chosen Lowe's as his main sponsor. Also, he's HSBC, is that how it's called? And Gwen in the Carlin, meanwhile.
HSBC, the world's local bank.
Yeah. Well, this Carlin looks a lot like the trend from last season, other than the dashes of purple is got over there. Or is that pink? I think it's pink more like.
Looks more, it's a pinkish purple, I would say. But he's
Yeah.
got Listerine as one of his sponsors. Here is the University
Yeah,
of Rahul Patel.
Yeah,
IKEA as a
man,
sponsor,
with
and
Etihad.
Etihad.
Oh my god, that they had racing are back. Oh no.
Yeah. Who loves a bit of IKEA, eh? I don't think anybody hates IKEA, to be honest. It's got literally everything you'd want. Nicholas Zorbach
I think the Danish hate IKEA because Danish hate every single Swedish thing. Here we have Nicholas Jaggermeister Zorbach, that's his sponsor.
In the BWT HWA Race Lab, of course. No longer Arden, a German driver with a German team. Behind them, that's Protsyuk.
No, that's Ruslan Protsyuk. It's the same car as last season. Only he's got a different sponsor, SMP Racing, of course, the famous Russian team that's been going around lower formulas, and also sponsored Sergei Sirotkin, while it sponsors Ruslan Protsyuk as well.
As you can see, that's a Trident, isn't it? The Trident looks to have
looks exactly the same
from last
honestly.
season. So no changes for Trident.
That's about it.
So, apart from probably some added sponsors as well, but that's that. Here is Ento
Nome
Sinanome in the
McLaren
McLaren liveried Carlin. The McLaren liveried Carlin, of course, because Hento is the McLaren test driver.
That's a nice looking car. Nintendo logo and everything, and Panasonic. Really going for a lot of Japanese sponsors.
Nintendo is one of his sponsors. And here is Suto in the Cherouz. A very nice looking Cherouz, it must be said.
Yeah, very much so. The Slovakian driver is out on track in the Czech team. Maybe Czechoslovakia is reborn or something, I don't know. But anyway, he finishes his lap to go 9th fastest. Actually, 10th fastest now because Brosters beat him.
That's another new livery that's behind Broster. I'm trying to figure out which one that is.
CHWA, you know.
I'm not quite sure, because we're not going to the car behind for some reason, because I think I've got a feeling Flo might have gone to the toilet. So, oh no, there we go. It's Quintino, in fact, in the Campos.
The Branco de Brazil liveried Campos. That's a very, very nice car. It reminds me a lot of the Sauber in 2015, with which Felipe Nasser got P5. Also reminds me of my certain team.
That's actually Naz's sponsor, in fact, because he actually had that livery in GP2 before he went to F1.
Yep, indeed. And there's also Claro. You can see it on the engine cover with white lettering. Barely, though. Only from some angles it's clear.
Got a Dams behind as well. It looks like Dams have gone unchanged from last season. Yes, they have. It's Kulazet we're looking at now, who was 10th but now 11th because Usman Hamid has gone into 10th position. So,
let's go on board with Kulazet. He appears to be up by just a little bit on his second sector time. So is Dennis Graf. Their Dams, the Nokia sponsored Dams, I should say. I guess he wants to have the durability of a Nokia.
Indeed, yeah. But that's that. There's Rahul Patel that's behind him. I think, no, is that not Rahul? No, it's not Patel because he's not the Red Bull driver anymore. It is Lorenzo Tomaselli, of course, is the Red Bull driver now. Not much changes with the Red Bull livery apart from the Campos logo making an appearance.
Indeed. Here goes Lorenzo Tomaselli to round off his lap. Kulasic has improved. Up to 11, so has Graf. Stays in 18th fastest. Though Kyle Burns is also rounding off his lap. Where's the American gonna go? Nowhere, I'm afraid.
High-tech behind of Chobot, he has got sponsors on it, so a little bit more decoration, unlike Skillins.
Got the Longi, and he also got Esset over there. That's an interesting car.
Indeed. Now, all of these, as mentioned, were done by Evan, none by me this time, so you might want to thank Evan for all these liveries, because they are very detailed indeed. Here is Farina in the ART, no sponsors for him either, so maybe he might need to get some sponsors in the future. Here is Valdinger, going around the right-hander.
Here he goes. He's going to go for the move into dry sack.
And he does. Pretty well, indeed. And he's
and
currently top at the moment.
Is back. He is at the top.
I point out as well, last season he actually topped both days. So is he going to continue a little bit of a streak?
Yes, he did. I'm sure he'd hope so. Don't forget, he finished second in the season finale in Brazil. So he's got some good momentum. As we're now on board with Jesus Perignan. Of course, with the Unai Virtuosi with the Renault livery, which is the exact same because Unai Virtuosi, you know, we're pretty much the feeder team for Renault, real life.
Pretty much, yeah. But a lot of hype surrounding Perrin, of course, after what he did last season in BTCC. I'm not expecting him to possibly. He might. You never know. He could challenge for the championship, but I'm not expecting too much out of him, to be honest. Because usually when you hype people,
Don't
it
forget.
usually goes the other way. So.
True, but don't forget these cars are fundamentally different. It's his first time out in open wheelers, and Perignan at the moment is in 15th place.
Indeed. Well, he's already got some experience on an open wheeler, of course, because he is, of course, the official Renault test driver. So he obviously got some experience on day 4, and he actually did quite a decent job, to be honest, getting middle of the road. So maybe he can transfer that into GP2.
I can say that again. Now the Mexican is coming into the pits and overshooting the pit lane entry there.
Upskilling, getting it all a little bit crossed up there on the pit entrance there. But hopefully it's not going to be too much of a problem like we saw in 2011 with, not 2011, 2013 with the top class, of course. But it doesn't look like the pit entrance is the same as that.
Yeah.
I think the
also,
DAT file's a little bit different though on this version, so I think we should be okay.
Yeah, hopefully. You wanted to address earlier. You said we're gonna talk about some people with the the voting for the voted tracks.
Yes, indeed. We're going to go to the calendar now. So, of course, we'll start with pre-season testing. Today, of course, we're in Jerez, but of course, tomorrow we are at Silverstone, the former Day 1 location. Now that just becomes Day 2 again. But in terms of the main calendar, which is what everybody wants to know. Now, the first race, as Rob alluded to, will not be in Sakia, which is a bit of a shocking one. It's in fact going to be a voted track. Now, we will be finding out what this voted track is tomorrow.
And so will you.
So after day 2 in Silverstone, we'll be finding out what will be the first race of the season, which will be very interesting to see. Meantime, we just saw Valdinger go to the top. So be aware of that. It will happen on the weekend of the top class Bahrain Grand Prix. So I just want to
and don't forget some pointers. It will not be Bahrain. It will not be any track on the GP4 OC calendar. It will not be Istanbul. Apart from that, anything goes.
Indeed, because some people were still trying to vote for Bahrain in the voting. You can't vote for that because it's on the top class calendar. So that's that. But anyway, moving on. 2 weeks after that, though, so it will be off to Zandvoort. The Zandvoort making a return to the GP2 calendar, and of course the top class is going there as well. So it will be interesting to see what GP2 does at Zandvoort for a third spell.
Yep, well, Zandvoort is back after a year break. It's produced some pretty interesting races in 2017 and 2018, if I do say so myself. Now it's going to be back, hopefully to entertain us some more, but this time early in the season rather than late.
Indeed. Then moving on, a week later, it will be Portimao. Portimao making another appearance after being on the calendar last season, and also saw Dudu Kirby win that race, so it is back for another season after it's also on the top class calendar, replacing Vietnam, which is not on Grand Prix 4. So it will be interesting to see if we get another exciting race at what is considered to be quite a popular track over the last year or so.
And up next, not so popular track, that being Barcelona.
Barcelona being a week after, of course, Yuri wanted to make it an Iberian doubleheader between Portugal and Spain. But then afterwards, we'll be having a Christmas break for, well, Christmas and New Year's break. But of course, GP2 will not be back until Baku, of course. Round 5 being the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku on the 18th of January. And that will be taking place after Monaco and, of course, the Indy 500, the annual Indy 500 race that we have. That'll be the first time that Rob will be back in the commentary box, of course, in 2022 after the Christmas break. Not GP2, of course.
Indeed. Don't forget that sign-ups for the Indy 500 are going to be open starting tomorrow, I think.
No, Thursday.
Thursday, right. Tuesday, Thursday, I always make that mistake. Either way, we're close.
Anyway, moving away from Azerbaijan, we then have a week break before we head off to the Red Bull Ring in Austria, where Nicolas Zorbach will be hoping to add another victory there.
Yep. So under 3 times he wants to make it 4, and he's got in GP2 still. He's got the means to do it, but will he be able to do it or not? Remains to be seen.
We'll be off to Silverstone for round 7, the British Grand Prix. Then Budapest for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Sadly, no German Grand Prix, for now at least, because it could be a voted track. We'll have to wait and see, either Hockenheim or the Nürburgring. We'll have to wait and see, of course. Round 9, it will be the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa, before we then head off to Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. Then it will be a week break before the second standalone race of the season for round 11. The round 12 will be the third standalone race 2 weeks after that standalone race. And then 2 weeks later, as per usual, the season will finish off at the Brazilian Grand Prix in Sao Paulo, a week before the top class finale.
That's an interesting looking calendar. I think it's got an extra round from last season. It's going to be more entertaining. As not something on the early is finishing the lap.
By the way, Rob. Yeah, there's no extra round. It's just still 13 rounds.
Oh, alright.
But anyway, we get to the action now because I think we've dabbled along quite a bit of the admin, haven't we? Are you still there? I think Rob might have disappeared. I cannot hear him, so I don't know if something's happened to Rob or he's gone somewhere, I'm not sure. But anyway, whilst we were talking at the moment, Zorbach goes into second, Watterson goes into ninth at the moment. So currently this is what the leaderboard currently looks like. I'm not sure where Rob has gone, to be honest. He's kind of gone a bit silent at the moment. I'll just check. Are you there now, Rob? I think we're struggling with Rob at the moment with connection problems. Meantime, Zorbach has... Okay. Are you there now, Rob? Still not hearing anything from Rob at the moment. I don't know what... It seems that Rob's having a few connection problems at this point in time. So at the moment, this is what the leaderboard currently looks like while Rob is trying to sort out his connection problems. Valdinger is top with Zorbach in second, Patel in third, Quintino fourth, Burns in fifth, Skill in sixth, with Sinanome in seventh, Chobot in eighth, Watterson in ninth, Farina in 10th, Broster 11th, Proxy 12th, with Nguyen in 13th, then it is Hamid in 14th, then Kulisek 15th, Watzel in 16th, Tomaselli 17th, then it is Suto in 18th, Perrin in 19th, Graf 20th, Curtis 21st, and Andreoli in 22nd and last. As Zorbach comes down the pit straight, across the lane he goes, and he does not improve. It seemed he lost time in the second sector because he was up on Valdinger in the first sector, but then lost it in the last two sectors. And as we now look at Carl Burns, who's coming down the straight now then, and he does not include. And Rob's saying that his connection is pretty bad at this point in time. So apologies, guys. We're trying to get... And okay, so Rob's going to keep trying and see if he can get back into the call if he can, but he's currently got some connection issues. That's why you're only hearing me at this point in time. So they're going now. Then we're looking at now. Then of course, given a lifeline after what happened last season. Given he not really a lifeline. I don't think he was expected to be in GP2 this season. To be quite honest with you, given that. He didn't really have the best of season in DTN. It was alright, but it wasn't anything spectacular. He was like middle of the road. But he was given a lifeline after everything that happened during the off-season, and that's why he's back with Carlin, being Hento Sinanome's teammate. As we ride on board with Ruslan Proxiuk, a lot of people probably claiming he could be one of the favourites for this season, given that he was challenging quite a bit last season, but he did have a few inconsistencies in 2019. And yep, Rob is back. I guess it was connection problems, was it, Rob?
Yeah.
So you are now back. So not really much has changed to let you know, Rob. The order's still the same. And so you've just come in now because Watterson has just gone up into 7th place. As meantime, Watzel there. Yeah, a bit of a weird exit there for Watzel as he came out of the pits. You there, Rob?
Yeah, I'm here. It's just that the connection appears to be much weaker when I'm actually watching the stream. Your voice is muffling a lot but when I'm not watching, actually it's okay. The screen with the voice and everything. I'm sorry about everything, guys. Just a very poor internet connection recently.
Okay. Are you not able to watch it at this point in time, then?
I'm gonna try, but if not, then you can just commentate. I'll provide some support, I guess.
Alright, well, at this point in time, we're looking at the two Dams cars who are giving each other slipstream. That is Graf trying to give Kulisek some slipstream. Coming out of the hairpin where that infamous contact happened all those years ago in 1997 between Schumacher and Villeneuve. Of course, nowadays, not on this version of Jerez, but modern-day Jerez. that part of the track now has runoff. So I know that somebody mentioned that what if F1 actually came here and Verstappen and Hamilton had a collision down at that corner? Well, the same thing wouldn't happen because there's actually tarmac down at that corner. So had there been tarmac down there in 1987, Schumacher probably wouldn't have retired from the race. And probably the whole thing about him driving into the side of Villeneuve deliberately wouldn't have been a talking point. But there we are. As out the final turn, then goes Wojciech Kulizek, as he's trying to get some decent slipstream off of Graf, but still not able to improve at the moment. Only a few hundredths off his personal best at this point in time. He makes his way through to turns 1 and then into turn 2. Before flicking the car around into turn 3 now then. As left-handers, meantime Rahul Patel has gone up into second place. So Patel up to second, as meantime Broster is up on Valdinger in the first sector, but we did see that Zorbach was also up on Valdinger in the first sector, and then he lost time in the last 2. So we'll have to see if that's going to be the same for Broster. But Patel up to second, 86 thousandths off of Valdinger at the moment. So the Uni Virtuosi getting himself up into second position. As Curtis improves but remains in 21st position behind Graf. Broster's still up on Valdinger, so we could see somebody going to the top here, beating Valdinger off the top of the moment if Broster can keep this up in the last sector as they make their way towards the
Ayrton Senna looking very good.
Indeed, as we're going to see if he's going to, as he just comes out of the Ayrton Senna chicane, then through Ferrari before making a way down towards the last corner, which was at one point called Kudaus, but it's now known as the Lorenzo corner, named after Jorge Lorenzo. Heading out of the final turn and onto the pit straight goes Alex Broster. Can he get to the top of the timing sheets? And yes, he can by 300 a second. Yes, indeed. Are you able to watch it now, Rob?
Yeah, I am. But I had to close the YouTube chat actually because the two streams are running at the same time. I guess that pretty much kills my network connection. But anyway, it should be better now, I guess.
Okay. I guess I'll let you take over from main commentary again then, Rob.
Alrighty then. Here goes Rahul Patel finishing his lap. He can't improve on it, I'm afraid.
Here comes
Japanese driver. He can't improve. He's our second off the pace.
Currently, at the moment, lies in 9th position at this point in time. His teammate Nguyen currently finds himself in... Where is Nguyen, in fact, on the leaderboard? Nguyen is a 15th at the moment. So Synonym, the only Carlin at the moment in the top 10 at this point in time.
Yep, so... Nice.
I see now, yes. Got the arm colours sorted out as well, because I know that there is a separate file for arm colours. But as you can see, when you ride on board with all the drivers, you've now got the correct arm colours. It's to try and represent the suits they have. So, as you can see, look, we've got a dark arms for Lorenzo Tomaselli, given that he's in a Red Bull liveried car. You saw earlier with Ento Sinonome having an orange arms as well. Quintino has yellow arms because he has got yellow on his car. So I know it looks blue on the onboard, but he has got yellow on there as he.
Yeah, it matches well with the blue, I gotta say. And the onboard look with Wojtek Kresic, who's got blue armband. Yeah.
Same with him as well. Blue arms for him, and I presume that's going to be the same for Graf in front, and it is.
Yep.
RTL is a sponsor of this rail as well. Valdinger with red arms as well because he's driving a Prema. So
that Sega looks very out of place. He's also very nice at the same time.
Sega. Down towards the right-handers, we're on a word with Kyle Burns in the Cheroos with dark coloured arms to match his suit. Because of course dark livery for Cheroos. As here is Nguyen with pink arms, of course, because he obviously has the pink stripe. Not sure, and obviously we know that Sinonome has orange because of the fact he's a McLaren test driver. Andrioli, meanwhile, has gone up into 7th in the Premier. He was down in last, but he's now up to 7th. There's some side-by-side action going on here.
How about going for the outside of Broster? The two of the rookies fighting for position right now on track. Looks like Broster went for the move initially, but Chobot was able to bounce back at him later.
Indeed, and well, they kept it side by side for a very, very long time. As you said, Chobot still trying to keep it around the outside, and then they continued through this left-hander, then into the next left-hander on the track, which is kind of a similar profile to the first bit, albeit this one is a lot more slower, before they made their way towards Angel Nieto.
Yep, indeed.
And that left-hander was called Curva Aspar, by the way, as up next is Peluqui. And actually, a little later, I'd like to commentate you guys for a full lap of the track, because I got the corner names from Wikipedia, and every single one of them is correct, except for the chicane, because actually, no, it has a chicane as well. But yeah, anyway, Azerbaijan is finishing his lap.
Brilliant starting his lap. I think we're going to ride on board with him for you, Rob.
Yeah, sure thing. Here he goes into Expo 92. The first corner, it's important. Do not go too wide on exit. That can really wreck you as you brake hard into Michelin. Out of Michelin, you go through the fast turn 3, which doesn't actually have a name, and neither does turn 4. Very fast left-hander, flat out. Carry all that speed and don't compromise your line. Carry all that speed into Cito Pons. And on exit, go as wide as you dare, but don't go over the grass. Now then, onto the back straight. The most infamous corner of the track is Dreisack. Azerbaijan goes through now. Took a little bit of a wider line into there. It's now out of Dreisack, approaching the unnamed turn 7. Flat out, carrying all the speed. Going a little bit on the curb. Not too bad though, as he approaches Aspar and carries some good momentum out of it. He's got a decent exit. He is up on his personal best there, look, as Azerbaijan. Not by much, but still decent as he goes into Angel Nieto. Good run from him. And into Peluqui as well. He's exited that, and now the chicane comes next. Ayrton Senna chicane, bypassing the Alex Criville corner, and then the Ferrari corner, turn 12, Curva Ferrari. And finally, it's the Jorge Lorenzo corner, and everything. Yeah, that is the end of the lap with Azerbaijan. We'll wait for him to cross the line, and just wait and see where exactly he will end up.
Lost time in the last sector, in fact, because he was up on the first 2 sectors, but he lost time in the last one. Whilst you were talking there, Hamid has gone up into 6th position. So up into 6th goes Mohammed Usman Hamid in the MP Motorsport.
Yeah, sorry I didn't pay that much attention on the lap. I was just juggling between tabs, looking at both the screen and at the track map I had of Jerez because it had all the corner names.
Right on board with Jose Frederic Suto. Got a Williams Racing logo on there because, of course, Suto is the official Williams test driver. So,
and of course, let's not forget that we will probably see Suto in the Indy 500 because he finished in the top 5, so he's guaranteed to be on the grid as long as he signs up for it.
Including the winner as well from Shanak Keoshane, providing
also me
as well. Through into you do the pronunciations better, Rob. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Anyway, Farina is approaching Jorge Lorenzo corner, and loads of things happened here, particularly in 2013, where Jorge Lorenzo himself had a little bit of a ding-dong with Marc Marquez on the last lap.
Similar to Rossi and Gibernau back in 2005.
Yep, indeed. As now Ruslan Procuk is chasing Henderson Onome. Meanwhile, it's not Fashere. It's Suto. It's Suto has improved up into 9th place. I'm still getting flashbacks to seeing Fashere, and yeah, but it's Suto. He's improved on his lap. He's going to the top 10. Nicely there.
Indeed. Nguyen has improved but remains in 18th position. As Proxy, meanwhile, is getting held up by Hento Sinonome at this point in time, the AlphaTauri and McLaren test drivers.
Yep, indeed. Sinonome wasn't originally meant to be the McLaren test driver. That was going to Jake Galloway. But once Galloway got promoted to Renault, well, he gained not just his GP2 seat, but also the McLaren test seat.
That livery would have originally have gone to Jake Galloway, just so you know, but Hento ended up getting it instead, so it just moved across the other side of the Carling garage.
Yep, that's right. As Procuk obviously didn't improve into Expo 92, he couldn't get the position either.
Indeed. I do want to point out as well that Flo has said that unlike in real life, this track is actually pretty good for overtaking for GP2, so...
Well, that's wonderful. Kurtz, meanwhile, overshot the pit lane entry there, so did Hamid.
I think that's how the DAT file is, so I think it's best that we just ignore that, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, Ruslan Procuk is on for another lap. He's got a decent amount of street opponents, and onto the back straight, he's going to try to get a move on Sinonome and towards Dreisack. And this time, it looks like he succeeded.
Indeed. We'll have to see if he'll get a clean lap on the next one then, unless he'll get told to come back into the pits. Hello, Jamie. You've just joined us in the chat. It's a bit strange not seeing Jamie on either a DTM or GP2 grid, to be honest, because he's finally making his top-class debut this season.
After the season he had last time, it's very well deserved. He needed some redemption, and he got it last season. Was the championship fight for a fair bit. In the end, finished third. But it was a brilliant redemption arc, and Jimmy Griffiths now finds himself in the top class. He'll be making his race debut in 2 days' time.
Reed Sorensen, by the way, Jesus and Joseph, is Jamie Griffiths. Just thought I'd let you know on that, because I know that people usually get confused.
Yep, indeed, as Protsik finishes his lap only a tenth down on his personal best, so he may have lost some time in the first sector, but he recovered decent chunks. As now Ben Svallinger is under pressure from Kulasic.
And Kulizek wasn't able to get by here, of course. Jerez, of course, just some history about the track as well. Apart from being known for that Schumacher-Villeneuve incident, it was known for being not only just an official test track for F1, but also an official reserve track as well. Oh, we're not expecting rain, so I don't expect the track to wetten up.
I guess
but you
it's
never
just
know
like
with Flo's weather.
Yeah, I guess it's just some weird graphics we got going around. But anyway, sorry to disturb the history bit.
Yeah, but anyway, as I was saying about the history with this track, yeah, it was also an official reserve track back in the 90s, but of course there are rumours going on in real life from next season. It's going to be a reserve track again for F1, an official reserve track like it was back in the 90s, which is a bit mixed. Whether it's true or not, I'm not sure, but hey, there you go, really.
In my opinion, honestly, this circuit would be terrible for the current cars we got. But don't forget, the F1 cars are changing for next year. So if it comes to pass that we'll end up racing here next year, I think it'll be better with those cars.
Might be. We'll have to wait and see, of course. Obviously, the last time an F1 actually went with an official session here was back in 2015, of course, pre-season test. They haven't raced there, of course, since 1997. And that infamous incident happened.
I remember Lewis Hamilton had a crash here in testing. I think 2013 or 2015 it was, if I remember correctly.
It was 2013 he had the crash. It was his first season with Mercedes. I think it was a brake failure he had. It was actually at turn...
Isaac, I think.
It was at turn... I'll get the corner number. It was Cité Pons it was at.
Oh, Cité Pons, alright. Before the Jurassic corner. Right.
It was at that corner where he had the crash in 2013. And a hefty crash, to be honest.
Yep, indeed. But I don't think it harmed him too much, considering what he managed to achieve in the Mercedes stint.
Yeah, indeed, as they are all coming now in. Well, Kulizek and one of the Premers are now coming into the pits.
I believe that's Andreoli, judging by the T-cam he's got. As now Dennis Graf appears to be up on his personal best, but that's his former car impeding him a little bit.
As long as that car's not in the way by the time he gets up to him, he should be okay, because at the moment he is up on his personal best in the middle sector. Let's see what his third sector is like, and he's lost time.
Half and a half down, and his Graf clearly suffering a little bit from the dirty air. As Sinonome comes in, Ruslan Protsik has just improved, meanwhile, it's gone up into 5th place.
So 5th and 7th so far for the MP Motorsport guys at this point in time. The defending teams champions, let's not forget as well. A bit of an unexpected one at the end of the season, but they managed to do it.
A big surprise, but a welcome one indeed.
Yeah, indeed. As we're now on that back straight. It's Graf trying to get some slipstream down that pit straight. It's not going to work. Curtis improves, but remains in last position at this point in time.
Speaking of Curtis, that's him just in front of Graf there, look.
But whilst he was able to improve, Graf wasn't able to improve.
Yep. It looks like Graf's lap is compromised for this time as well, as we hit the halfway mark. 3 minutes to go in this session.
As they make their way through the right-hander.
That's Cité Pons, and Graf's first sector has been massively destroyed.
They go down towards infamous corner where that infamous incident happened back in 1997, the Dryzak corner.
Yep.
As now we look at Joe Watterson now then. Watterson currently in 8th position and doesn't improve this time by.
Nope, not quite. Over 2nd down, as there's a lockup for Graf. That was a big lockup for him, and towards Peluque he goes now. But his lockup was in Angel Nieto, of course. As now goes for the Astana chicane, bypassing the Alex Reville corner. Here goes Graf. Obviously he's lost a lot of time on this lap. But he'll be trying to see how he can pass Curtis. If Jerez is one of the voted tracks, Graf could do with some practice here.
Indeed, I mean, we have seen some overtakes so far in this practice session, so it's not impossible around here, of course.
And
Another interesting
speaking
fact
of,
about...
Curtis has improved once again. Sorry to interrupt you. He's got up to 21st. As yep, there's another improvement from Stop.
Yeah. FSU is Suto. I think Suto even said during during the practice session, if I'm not mistaken, that he prefers it to be SUT for the prefix. So maybe some.
Hopefully we can get that sorted. I know in the top class, Millie Wilson got her prefix changed, so I think Joseph can get his as well.
Indeed, as they make the way, as we ride on board with his teammate, nonetheless, Carl Burns. But also some interesting stuff about this track. Does anybody remember when this track was actually considered to be a race for last season during the rescheduled F1 calendar?
Yeah, a little bit. And also another thing, you can remember when it hosted a standalone race for F2, right?
Yeah, he did, back in 2017. In fact, that was also the weekend when George Russell won the GP3 title.
Yep, meanwhile Skillen has improved. It's also hosted standalone events for IFMC GP2 and GP3, if you remember.
Did indeed. It's also been used for, he also got used for testing venues as well for IFMC as well. So, yeah, I mean, there was some talk about me potentially having it for a top class race. I remember at one point when that whole thing with Catalonia was going on. But of course, that never really, that never went anywhere really. That did.
Catalonia, the country that was independent for 8 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking about the geopolitical implications so much. We forgot to mention that Dennis Graf improved on his time. He's got up to 14th.
Yeah. But I do remember this track was considered to be on the rescheduled 2020 calendar towards the back end of the season, because I think there was some talk about potentially Bahrain not having a double header, and it was instead going to finish with Jerez, Istanbul, Bahrain, and then Abu Dhabi. But then, of course, they managed to get the double header with Bahrain sorted out, of course, which included the Roval, and Jerez was not needed as a result.
Yep. Now then, Vince Wellinger is about to finish his lap. Out to Jorge Lorenzo he goes. Good exit there, but I don't think it's gonna matter to improve. No, he doesn't improve on that one. 1.2 seconds down.
As meantime, the Guan has gone up into 12th.
Say, Joe, there's something I want to ask. What do you think? What do you think you need to do to nail a lap of Jerez? Where do you need to be fast? And what skills would you have to put to the table to be top of that chart? What do you think?
Well, I think the main sector is what we've seen today. Of course, is probably, I would say I think all of it is really important, to be honest. But I think if we have to choose a main one, it would probably be the middle sector, because that's where we've seen a lot of the time being lost today, to be honest.
Well, but checkered flag, it seems.
It seems Suto will be finishing off very, very soon, of course. So when he comes back into the pits, that'll be a session done with, because, of course, there is a maximum amount of laps they are able to do.
I think I agree with you, Joe, on that one. The middle sector has got a lot of corners, particularly medium and high speed. And you can gain and lose a lot of time in those. You also got that big back straight, so which traction is critical. So I think, yeah, the middle sector could be decisive in this test.
Yeah, indeed, and maybe if it's a voted track, it could be decisive for that as well, especially when it comes to qualifying.
And also the race, don't forget, because that back straight could be the main overtaking opportunity. We've seen some non-official OC races. If you remember Flo's Classic OC, we did hold a race here at Jerez. I remember because I commentated that one. And we saw some passing, particularly at this corner at Drysack.
Indeed, as Andrioli tried to get by on one of the Univirtuosis there, but wasn't able to get the move done. I presume that was Perinin, because that one there is Patel. And it is Perinin.
Yep, Andrioli coming into the pits, might I add.
Indeed, Perinin, who has not got the checkered flag next to his name, so I think we'll be seeing him a little bit later on in the session.
Yeah, so, I can see his lap counter. He's got 3 or 4 laps in his belt, so he'll get another run in.
Through the chicane will go Perinin now then, as he makes his way out the chicane. Of course, that chicane being built in after the death of Ayrton Senna, and you could say in a way as well it was partially built as well after Martin Donnelly's accident at that corner, where he was pretty much separated from the car, really.
Yeah, unfortunately. Now then, We're on board with Joel Larson. It's the start of a new run. You can tell by the white number on the dev panel. Usually it's green if you improved on your previous lap, or red if you haven't. But if it's a brand new lap, and that number is going to be white, as is the case for Joel Larson. Santos Tsunoda will be coming in, and Henry Watzel, I just noticed, has gone up into 4th place.
Yep, gets himself in front of the HWA of Nicholas Zorbach at this point in time. So the man, of course, who we mentioned earlier, was given a lifeline to still be with ART after what happened in the off-season.
Yep, indeed. Thomas Anderson, I think 100% he could have stayed if he wanted to, but he's unfortunately decided to retire.
In time, we got another one with a checkered flag next to their name, Andrioli, I believe.
Yeah,
Andrioli
speaking
on
of
the
Anderson, it's the man who's inherited his prefix, and that's Andrioli, as Graf has also got the checker.
So they'll be finishing off very soon once they go back into the pits. That doesn't mean they'll be finishing off straight away. It's just that when it comes to the time they come back into the pits, then they'll be finished off for the session. As we've got another one, I believe, that's got a checkered flag. It's Farina.
Yep, indeed. Testing can be a little weird with these rules, with the checkered flag rules. But you don't have to worry about it for qualifying. You know the rules, the rules that we all know and love. And they're very solid. They're very fixed in place for qualifying. If you go over your lap limit, you're disqualified from the session, and no AA will ever do that.
Costa and Synonym have now got the checkered flags next to their name, just so you know.
Yep, indeed. But just like Joe said earlier, don't forget, guys, it doesn't mean your session is over. It'll only be over once you come in. If you have the checkered flag, you're not allowed to go back out, but you can still stay on track for as long as you want in the stint.
Watsel's now got the checkered flag next to his name, so he'll be finishing.
Oh, does Valdinger.
Valdinger now has got it next to his name.
And he's got an overtake from Max Skillen into turn 1. Nice job there into Expert 9-2.
Rafa's got it next to his name. There's a few now that are starting to collect the checkered flag that's next to their name, so people finishing off quite early, very soon. Once the pit symbol comes up on the death panel. We've got 9 people
so far, so we're close to the halfway mark.
Valdinger looking to see if he can try and continue the streak of topping a pre-season test. He's got to try and find 300ths if he wants to get in front of Broster.
Well, he ain't finding them on this lap. Don't forget, he was already overtaken by Skillen. It appears he's under threat of losing track position yet again.
Talked about earlier on in terms of favourites that you look at, maybe like Protsiuk and Graf. We forgot to mention Valdinger in that conversation because he has been, he's been there, here and bouts, challenging at the front, but like with Protsiuk, inconsistency has been the thing that's kind of held him back. But I think if he gets a good season under his belt, who knows?
I guess Valdinger, his 2019 season wasn't too spectacular. However, right at the end of it, he turned it around, I'd say. He had some very solid results, particularly in Germany. You had an epic fight for the win of Anderson, and in Brazil, where he finished a comfortable second.
And he's now also the Alfa Romeo test driver this season, taking over from Aaron Curtis.
Indeed, both of these guys were in the running for the main seat of Alfa Romeo. However, the Swiss team decided to actually retain their lineup of Gabriel Gomez and Federi, which meant obviously these guys couldn't get the race seat, but they stayed in GP2.
Indeed. Meanwhile, whilst we were talking there, Skillen actually got up into 7th position, so he was able to improve in the new high-tech Grand Prix team.
Yep, that's right, Max Skillen. He's already won on Spanish soil before. Remember that victory in Barcelona last year, which was pretty dominant. Skillen's currently P7, so he's got some good momentum here, I guess.
Indeed, as we look at Protsiuk, who is coming up behind one of the Cheruzas, hoping not to get held up by that Cheruz. Protsiuk currently finding himself in 6th position and still down on his personal best of the first sector by a lot, in fact, 6 tenths. I wonder if that Cheruz is giving him a spot of bother in front.
I guess so, definitely. Those fast corners in Sector 1, you need all the downforce you can afford, and these cars don't have a lot of downforce to begin with. But when you're in the dirty air of another car, you get even less.
Indeed, as they make their way towards the middle sector, and Protsiuk's going to get held up even more by the Cheruz in front.
That's a further 2 tenths.
Coming out of Angel Nieto and out of the corner after that before heading into the Ayrton chicane.
I like how you didn't even try to pronounce it this time.
Yeah, I struggle with pronunciations.
Don't worry.
Except when it comes to driver names, I sometimes don't have issues with that, but when it comes to corner names, I seem to struggle.
Anyway, in comes Kyle Burns. As now Protzik runs off his lap. Of course, he lost time on it, but he's not coming in just yet.
As Farina comes into the pits, and that will be his session
Ferdinand
done with.
improves.
Because
He's got the checkered flag. He's improved, but stays in last place.
it's not been a good start for Perenin, it must be said, in his GP2 debut, but he's still got a few more laps to do before his session comes to a close.
Yeah, but don't forget, apart from that day 4 in Bahrain where he testing duties for Renault, he has never driven an open wheeler before. So he's still got time to get accustomed, though. It's not the start of the season yet. It's just preseason right now. So he doesn't have to be discouraged with being P22 for now. As Perignon, he's got a lot of room for improvement, and I'm sure he'll find it. Don't forget, he's already gone up in Sector 1.
Obviously, tomorrow, of course, we're going to a track where he's had good memories, of course. It was where he won the BTCC title, the Silverstone to be exact.
Yep, indeed. Well, I think he's got quite a heap of experience around British tracks, considering that's most of the BCC calendar.
Indeed. Apart from this season, of course, we'll be heading back to Spa and Bathurst. The only 2 times we'll be outside of the UK.
Yep, indeed. Well, still most of the calendar is British, you know what I mean. Anyway, Perignon, he appeared to be 1/10 up as he approaches Ferrari, carrying a lot of speed there in towards Jorge Lorenzo. Let's see if he can improve and get last place. Everyone has the checker flag next to their names. But once everyone comes in, the session will be done. But what will Perignon's lap be like? Improve. He can. He goes up into 20th. He will not be last today.
Well, definitely not, as he's still got a few more laps underneath him. He still hasn't got the pit symbol yet on his death panel. So, could be trying to improve a little bit more.
The man who does have it is Joel Warson as he comes in to round off his session. He's currently in P11. Warson had a good 2019. Maybe a little bit overshadowed by his fake teammate Marko Kalovic. But he still got some good podiums for himself. I think he was on the podium, 3 times, I guess? Joel Warson definitely performed well last season.
Everybody's now got the checkered flag next to their names now, so everybody will be finishing off very, very soon.
Yep, indeed. Meanwhile, Watson, a little bit of a ding-dong battle with the Trident in front of him. I believe that is not Curtis. It is his teammate Wars. No, it is actually Curtis.
Curtis is the car in front. Both of them still doing another lap, still wheeling their way around the track.
Yep, indeed. I think Ben Svaliger will be a little disappointed that he didn't get to top the test for a third time in a row. But he'll be second. He'll be satisfied with that.
Well, we've got more side-by-side action. Curtis trying to show him, in fact, so we're getting a bit of racing, but Watson saying no to that.
Good battling between these 2 guys. Good and fair. As Perignon has improved again to go 9/10 behind Broster.
He's now under a second behind Broster, so continuing to improve.
And he doesn't appear to be done. He doesn't appear to be done just yet.
Still trying to prove a point on home soil, of course. Jesus Perenin being a Spaniard, of course, this is his home track, and he will be obviously going to another home track later on in the season in Catalonia.
Which we know Joey has some not unpopular opinions on that track. And I also agree it should be replaced with Aragon.
Oh yes, oh yes. I don't think I need to say anything else other than that, because I think I'll be like a broken record. So
yeah, I guess. Anyway, Perignon is completing the second sector right about now. Let's see if he can go up after a bad sector 1. And his sector 2 is alright, but he's still 2/10 down. This could be his last lap, of course. He might get a pit indicator next time out, but we'll see as he approaches Ferrari after the chicane.
Through the Ayrton Senna chicane.
I want to ask you, Joe, do you like this track better with or without the chicane? Because obviously MotoGP doesn't use it.
I think they're both just as good as each other, to be honest. I mean, obviously the cars use the chicane for a reason because of what happened with Ayrton Senna, but I think they're both just as good. I mean, you could argue that the chicane does kind of break the flow of the track, but I think they both have the strengths and weaknesses, to be honest.
Well, for MotoGP, it's not MotoGP, I don't think it's that big a deal because those bikes can follow pretty damn close. But for F1, yeah, it would make overtaking the last corner quite difficult, but that's tricky already.
As Andreoli comes in, as these sessions come to a close, same with Watzel as well. He's coming into the pits this time by as well.
Yeah, but Perignan is gonna keep going, I think, just a little longer. As now here comes
Indeed.
Watzel.
Pit lane he goes, as Curtis is still going to continue around. He's currently in last at the moment.
Not the best start he would have hoped for in his new team Trident. Don't forget, Zorbach was last in the day 1 of testing last time out, last season. And what happened to Zorbach? Well, he won the first race. So, roll anything out as Chobot hits the wall on pit lane entry.
More like the bump that caused the damage there rather than that wall, because it doesn't like there's any contact collision with that barrier. So, I think it's
Actually
the bump
went
that's
through
caused
it.
that.
Yes, the bump.
I think it's the bump that's caused that bit of damage, but at least the session is over for him, so I'm done as Quintino comes in, so it's just Perinen that's left on the track.
Yep, indeed.
In fact, Perinen and Curtis, I should say.
Yeah. And I want to talk to you about the session so far. What do you think of the standings as they stand? Because we got a lot of usual suspects doing quite well. We got Wallinger, Patel, Watzel, Zorbach, Protsiuk, Skill, and all these guys were very strong last season. Okay, maybe not Watzel, but still, Watzel was strong in the past. Looks like he's regaining that mojo a little bit. Vanderson Gunn, he wants to cement himself as the lead driver at Dart.
Indeed. Obviously a big surprise, of course, being Broster, who's currently at the top, as Curtis gets some understeer there at Angel Nieto. But yeah, Broster at the top, but this is only testing, as you said before. I mean, we all thought that going out after pre-season testing, Valding was going to look strong for 2019, and that didn't happen. So you can only really take pre-season testing with a pinch of salt.
Yep, indeed. It's a good pointer, but it's just that a pointer, and you don't win the title for pointers, you get it for points.
Time Curtis comes out of Lorenzo now then. I don't think he's on improvement. Will he get the pit symbol this time? And
yes, he will. So that will mean Perignan will be the last one. No, he will not be the last one because Curtis will come in after him. Perignan is coming in right now.
So that is the session done with.
Yep, that's right. So here are your results. It is Alex Broster in his first GP2 outing being on top. Great effort. He's denied Vance Wallinger the chance to top 3 test days in a row. Rahul Patel with a great showing. He is in 3rd place, the teammate of the man we're on board with right now. Henrik Watzel, his lifeline seems to be working out at the minute. He is in 4th place in this test. Because Zorbach is in 5th, followed by Ruslan Protsiuk in 6th. I guess we got a lot of usual suspects in that top 6, except the man at the very top of it.
Indeed, then it is Skillen in 7th, Quintino in 8th, Suto in 9th, and Hamid 10th, Watterson in 11th, Andrioli 12th, Nguyen 13th, Burns 14th, Graf 15th, Sinanome 16th, Chobot 17th, Farinen 18th, Kulazek 19th, Perinen 20th, Tomaselli 21st, and Curtis in 22nd position.
Did you just call him Farinen? Yeah, Farina.
No, I said Farina.
Okay,
the way my microphone played up there.
Alright, no worries. Anyway, Aaron Curtis, he is last, I'm afraid, today, but that's no reason to be discouraged. He's just testing, after all, and he's also the last one to come into the pits to round off this session with 10 minutes to spare.
Curtis goes into his box, he'll be wheeled back into pits, and then that will be session done with.
Yep, that's right. And it's been an alright session, I gotta say. No mechanical issues, no sort of drama. Well, apart from a dodgy pit lane entry, but what can you do about it?
Yep, indeed. Apparently, Flo did some work on that pit entry, which is why it's kind of like that. Because, of course, I think it had the same bug that the 2013 preseason test had, but he's had to try and alter it there. But still not 100% perfect. But we got a good view of the Jerez track here in Andalusia at this point.
If you're newish to the OC, if you haven't been here for 2013, Flo saying this works better than 2014, I guess you should be worried to see because you don't want to find out what happened in 2013.
Indeed, but here is the full results again, just to remind you guys.
Indeed, we've already gone through them once. We're not going to do it again, but we are going to go for the top 3 because those are quite significant. It's Alex Broster who's gone quickest for HWA, with Benz Wallinger 2nd for Prima, and Rahul Patel 3rd for Unai Virtuosi.
Yeah, indeed. Patel looking to try and get redemption after, you could say, from Silverstone onwards, it cost him a chance at the title, or maybe even a chance at the AlphaTauri seat, you'd have to say. But Yeah, obviously Perinen in 20th position, as mentioned. I wouldn't read too much into it. He could still bounce back tomorrow in testing and could even bounce back in the season because, like I said, you only really need to take testing with a pinch of salt with GP2.
Yep, indeed. And if Curtis turns up to win the first race, I won't be surprised at all. Because Zorbach did it after being last in day one last time out, so who knows what's going to happen.
Indeed, but that is the end of day one, and that's it from Jerez, of course.
That's right. It's been an entertaining session, and I'm glad that you are here with us, guys. Despite the shaky connection I've had for some moments of it, it's all good now, and yeah, I'm very happy to be here to be able to comment it for you guys, and I'm glad you got to join me for today, Joe.
Indeed, it's been a pleasure commentating with you.
Likewise. Well, we'll see you again for a few races this season, of course. Until then, we'll see you guys tomorrow for day 2. We'll be going to Silverstone, and it should be quite nice. Until then, see you around.
Bye.